Andre Santos from Nectar Interactive will tell us about uncovering the hyper-casual market. So, Andre, please, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. And thank you also for inviting us to be here. It's always a pleasure to be on these kind of events and sharing our experience. It's really great. Thank you. So yeah, what I will talk about just a little bit about our experience on developing hyper-casual games. So we are a small team, right? And we have been doing several things besides hyper-casual games. But lately, on this last month, and actually since the COVID-19 appeared, so it was since March here in Portugal, we have been looking for this market, that it's a huge market, right? And we had this experience from doing gamification stuff and for clients, and then making this transition to the development of video games. The good news here is that we have a great team. So let me show you here a bit who we are. So our team is basically some guys that have been working on this area of game development in the past. And when we started Nectar Interactive, it was with the idea of, first of all, do gamification. And this was simply a way of bringing the knowledge that we have for video games and bringing this knowledge to the corporate world. So it was essentially a smooth transition to make gamification solutions. But gradually, we have been making this move for the hyper-casual market. So just as I said, we have gamification solutions. And this is just a small example of what we have done in the past. Mobile applications for the companies to use gamification for performance indicators and goals achievements. So as you can see, for example, here, what we have done was basically move away from a classic gamification approach and go more for a visual one, right? So we are showing the main stage is a game that is rolling down, and you influence the game by doing real world metrics. And this was a great experience. And then we, even before working with hyper-casual games, we made the transition also for other games. So this is just a bit closer to video games, right? But it's still not a pure video game, as this is just I mean, it's a game that it's a branded game, a game that is attached to a brand, but it's still very close to what a video game is. And we are talking here very about many genres of games that we have done. And adapted them to some brands, some really great brands here in Portugal. And with this, we started then looking for the next step, and then we decided, okay, so we have done gamification, we have done other games, so the next natural step maybe it's video games, right? So when we started looking for the video games industry, we wanted to make sure that we would get some quick results, right? And the best category here, or type of games that we could choose to have these quick results, is definitely hyper-casual games, because they have really develop a really quick development cycle, and we will see more about that next. So what were the first steps that we made in the beginning when we made this move for the hyper-casual market? So first of all, and it's really obvious, but you really need to have a great team, right? And assemble a great team, which means that you need to have an experienced developer to be able to develop fast, a great game designer that gives you a great structure of the game idea, of the concept that you will work on, and a great artist to do really quick sketches first of all, and then to be able also to do quick assets for the game. This is crucial. But as you just listen, you just need a couple. I mean, just three members for the team, and in the beginning, it's more than enough for you to start the development of an hyper casual game. But obviously, it's just this is an interesting market because it's it's relatively new. We are talking here about 2 years that the hyper casual market has been growing, but it's still a very young market. So you need to understand the market. Basically, this means that you need to look at the games that are on the charts, on the top charts. You need to play lots of games, yeah. So because this will give you a vision of how many games have been downloaded each day in each month. Okay, so you do the research on the market, and this will give you a great view about what is how big is this market, and the potential that you have here to have a great success. Just like I said, you have to play a lot of hyper casual games. This is crucial, and it's just not a person on a team. I mean, it's very important for everyone to play lots of hyper casual games, because this will give a better insight of how the games are done, and this is crucial for every member of the team. But also very important here is that in the beginning, you need to start looking how the process goes for to publish a game, right? Obviously, on these days, you have this possibility to launch games by yourself. Google Play and Apple Store, they are great stores for you to start and be able to publish a game as an indie. But this hyper casual game market is very competitive. Okay, and because of that, and if you want to have even a quicker success or achieve something even more fast, you need to go for a publisher track. So I would say that in the first place, you can work with publishers, and in the future, if you can have successful games, maybe you will have the possibility to work by yourself. But you need to work with publishers in the first place, and it's very important for you to know who are the publishers that are on the top charts, and also what are the conditions here that they have. Also very important is everyone in the team, and I mean everyone even outside of the team can have a great idea, right? But if you watch YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram, you will see the trends that are on the market, and this gives you a better idea of the type of game that you will have to do. If you take a look at several games that are on the top charts, you'll see that some of these games are based on the trends that you see on these social networks. And because it's very easy for you to have an idea, it's great for you to have an idea pool. Basically, this means that you can have a backlog of ideas, and that you will prioritize the ideas that you will work on based on also on the publisher's feedback that you can have. So when you are talking with a publisher, you can show them some ideas in a quick in a quick document or in a quick sketch, and then see if the publisher has the interesting or not to make that prototype. So with this and having this cycle process in mind, you can start the creation process. So you start with a brainstorm. You start by creating small game mechanics, developing quick prototypes. This is crucial because, as I said, because the cycle to develop an hyper casual game is very fast, and it needs to be fast, because when you are developing a prototype, you can test it right away with a publisher again. And let's not forget that the publisher allows you to do these quick tests in the market to test the marketability of the game, because they are doing essentially a user acquisition campaign, right? They have that power, and they have that quick process already implemented. So it's very easy for them to test a game idea. So this means that you also have to build a quick prototype to deliver to the publisher, so the publisher can be able to test the game in the market. And this means that they can also do, in the first place, they can do a CTR test with a small video that you have about the game, or you can go for the CPIs test, where you really you really have to have a prototype to publish in the stores. So yeah, obviously you need to contact with the publishers and submit prototypes to several publishers. Just to mention here, so when I say several publishers, what I mean is that you don't need to concentrate on just one publisher, right? I mean, you can obviously build a great relationship with a publisher, the one that you are most comfortable with, and also that you can see that have the better conditions. But it's important for you to have several contacts around the publisher's world, because this also gives you a better idea of how the publishing world works. Because I mean, all the contracts and the agreements that you can make with the publishers are more or less the same, but there are differences between them. So it's important for you to have several contacts here. And also, I think this is a good thing for you to, as a studio, as a small team, as an indie, to be able to participate in game jams and contests. And this is very important for one for one thing, essentially, because this gives you visibility, right? So when you go for a game jam or a contest, because now if you look for in the market, you will see that there are many publishers that are doing contests to find the next hyper casual successful game, and yeah, so you have publishers like Crazy Labs, Homa Games, Voodoo, that are doing these kinds of contests, and it's very important for you to be there, because this gives you visibility in the market, so the publishers will know that you exist and that you are doing a good job. So around the development cycle, as I said before, and I'm talking more about this now. So you start by doing, I mean, it depends also on the publishers, but the usual process here is let me just go back, sorry. So the usual process is that you can start with the CTR test. So this is basically a click-through rate test, which means that you are providing a video for a publisher so they can do a user acquisition campaign on a social network, see the click-through rate of the video. So how many people are clicking the video in an interesting interested on the game that they are seeing in that video, and this will give you a result, right? So this, if you are successful on this, in the value here, it depends on the publisher, but we are talking in average around at least 3-4% above or above of click-through rate. If you have this result, you can go for CPI tests. A CPI test is a cost per installed test, so which means that here you really need to have a game published in the stores, because now they are seeing the user acquisition is based on not only on the people that are clicking on the video, but that are installing the game, right? So the process is the same, but now the cycle is more completed, because now people see the video, click it, and then install the game. And this will give you a good insight of the marketability of the game. If you have good results here, you can go for the next step, that is retention levels. And before talking about this one, let me just mention here one thing. On the CPI tests, for the CPI tests, you really need to have a basic game, a basic prototype here. It's not even a game yet, I would call it. It's basically a quick prototype where you are testing the main core mechanic of the game. Because when people are seeing the video of your game, they are just looking for 2-3 seconds of the video, and if they have an interest on the main mechanic of the game, they will click the video and try to install the game. So what this also means is that you don't have to be cautious about how many levels you have on the game yet, how the visual feedback is good or not yet. If you have power-ups, if you have many levels, it's not important on the CPI test. And this is why developing hyper-casual prototypes is good, because you can really test your prototypes very fast. And if they don't have good numbers on these tests, you just jump for the next idea. But if you keep having good results, you can move on from step to step to do another test and see if the game will have success or not in the market. So you do this CTR test, CPI test, and then you go for the retention levels. Here on this step, you really need to have more in the game. So because you have to grab the attention of the game and the engagement of the player for many days. We are talking here about day 1 retention levels and day 7, which means that after 7 days of installing a game, the player are still playing the game. If you have good numbers here, you can move on to develop the full game, right? So this will be a good feedback from the market, and this is good news for your team, right? So you just go on for the full game, and then obviously you have to keep looking for the metrics. About this, the contacting the publishers, I just have a small information here. So, but it's essentially what I have said before. When you are contacting publishers, you really need to have a look at the conditions that they provide. There are many publishers that go for values that they pay up front to do prototypes, and there are others that are just basically working with you on the prototype stage, and then when you reach a certain amount of values on the testings that I mentioned before, they will start providing upfront money. Okay, so and then basically when the game is launched, they will give you a revenue share. So which means that they will split the revenue with you and them, obviously. I mean, it depends a lot on the publisher, but it depends also on what are your needs, right? So if you really need to have money up front to be able to develop more prototypes, you can go that way. But obviously, you will receive less when you go for the full launch, right? So it's just a balance that you need to take a look at, and it's just important for you to really carefully look at the conditions, and that's why it's also important for you to have several contacts and see all the business models that the publishers have. So I would just like also to show you what has been the evolution of our games and around the CPI values here. As I said before, we have been doing several games or several prototypes since March. And these iterations here that you can see, 13 iterations, it's not 13 prototypes. It just means that we have actually we have 7 prototypes, but some of the prototypes we have been testing more than once and more than on one platform. For example, we tested on Android or iOS, and the values also change when we are trying when we are testing a game on one of these platforms. But what you can see here in what I wanted to show you is that because when you are developing prototypes, you become more aware of how the games work and what you should focus on. So here I'm giving you an idea that on the first game that we have done here, we had a CPI, cost per install, of almost $2, which is very high. But just to give you an idea, this first game that we did was in 2D. We focused on having several levels. We had some skins for the player. We have a currency. I mean, we were focusing on several things that we wouldn't need to be focusing on the first place. And we took for our first game, we took more or less, I mean, just a bit more than 1 month of development, which is a lot. But then we started to understand how things should be working on the games, should be developed on the games, and we started to get into having better results here. And the last game that the last prototype that we did, we were able to achieve a 25 cents of CPI, but this is for Android. For iOS, it's 50 cents here. And for example, for you to have a good idea that you are going on the right track, you should, on iOS, on average, you should have 20 cents or 30 cents CPI. So on Android, you see we were able to do 25 cents, but on Android, the average is a bit lower, so it's 10 cents that you need to achieve to be able to understand that, okay, so with the CPI of 10 cents, we have good chances of having a great game in the market. So we are on track to go for that. We are still not there, but I think that sooner or later we will be able to go there. But it is also for all the indies that may be looking at this video. It's just to give you a thumbs up that if you work and you still keep working on the development and you understand the market, you will get there eventually. Let's take a look at the games. So this was just some games that we have been working on, and now I'm showing you the latest one, that is Card Crash. Here we don't have any sound here, but it's just for you to take a look at the game that we have. It's basically a kart game, a racing game, but the good thing here is that you can crash with the others and see them go all apart, and see the ragdolls on the players, on the opponents, jumping and flying. That's really nice. So this was the game where we achieved the best CPI on the market. So yeah, so I'm finishing my talk here. Some last words, and to summarize here what I've been talking about. So just focus on the development. This is very important because sometimes when you are on a company or a bigger company that you need to have several projects to work on, sometimes you just have other priorities, in fact. But it's important for you to keep focusing on the development and keep trying and doing prototypes. And it's the good thing here for the companies that should or want to invest in this type of development is that it is a quick have a quick development cycle. So this means that you can fail cheap and fail quickly, and it's a good way for you to work with, because you need to know that if you can fail quickly, you can move on to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one, until you reach the desirable numbers. It's very important also to define the core mechanic. So as I said, don't worry about having many levels in the game, in the prototype, and all the visual effects that you can have. Just go for the core mechanic and make it really, really great to look at first, and not only to play with. To play with, you can work on that later. In the first place, you need to make it very fun and enthusiastic in the beginning. Learn with the process, obviously. So this is an obvious one, but as you could see, we for this almost 10 months, 11 months that we have been working with hyper casual games, we have been learning a lot. So it's not an easy. It's not a. You have quick development cycles, but it takes a bit longer to go for the success. You need to have some patience here, but eventually it will give you great results. And believe in your team. So this is a lovely one, but it's very important to be able to have a great team and to have fun doing this, all of this. A passionate team, it's crucial for you guys to go for success. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this small talk here. It's just an experience of a small team. We are still here to keep working on hyper casual games, and I hope that it helps some smaller teams as well to start this very enthusiastic market to developing hyper casual games. Thank you.
Thank you too. So we have a number of questions. The first question is how to understand which trend will be next in games.
Yeah, so it's a matter of looking at the games that are on the market. I mean, you don't have to be the first one to develop a new trend. Okay, so because it's very difficult for you to. I mean, you can look at Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and you can see the trends that are on these social networks and say, okay, let's move on. Let's be the first one. It's not mandatory, right? So you can look at the games that are on the market, and because they are many developers out there with the great publishers that will have all the strengths to do the games first, and it will happen a lot when you are trying to be the first one, and before publishing the game you go and look for the charts and see, okay, so someone already launched the game similar to the one that I was working on. This is very usual, but don't lose your enthusiasm about this. You can also still keep working on the game and make it different from the one that is already on the market. So I think that's a good way to go.
Should we publish a game if it's setting not in trends?
Should I publish a game if it's setting not in trends? Yes, obviously. I mean, because even if it's not in the trends, the game what you see in the trends obviously has you already know that have good conditions to be successful, but it's not mandatory, because obviously you can have a great idea that it's not yet on the market, that it's not yet a trend, and that's why you do all the first tests of CTR and CPI. And that's why that's where you will see that if the game has some marketability or not. And if it has, maybe you are creating the next trend.
And is it a good idea to use narrative design in hyper-casual games?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think that's usual to have narrative design in hyper-casual games, because that will. I mean, when if you take a look at the market, you will see that all hyper-casual games are centered on a core mechanic that it's very basic to play with, because you are talking here with millions of players, of potential players that hasn't been able to play a game yet. So we are talking about an audience that it's not an usual gamer market, right? So a narrative game is I would say it's for another type of audience that it's more already a gamer. So I would not go for a narrative design game. So, but you never know. Maybe you can have something new there.
All right. And what D1 and D7 retention metrics are acceptable for you?
Well, as I said, this depends a lot also on the publisher. But it's on average, when you are looking for the market or for the day one retention, you could have 45% around on average, more or less. And for day 7, you are talking about 15, 10. I mean, it depends also a lot, but and it is also varies on Android and iOS. But it doesn't mean that, for example, if you have a day one retention of 35%, you wouldn't have a possibility to keep working on the game, because then there are several other things that you have access to on the metrics, and you can see other metrics that can tell you that the game has potential. But yeah, on average, it's around this, and when you are working on this, on the retention levels, you're already on a great path, because you are already working on the engagement levels.
Okay, thank you, Andre, so much. It was really amazing.
Thank you very much.